She'd stayed silent for months. But tonight, Melissa Gilbert finally speaks out about her longtime friend and former Little House on the Prairie co-star, Dean Butler, and she's not holding back. In an exclusive sit-down interview, Melissa reveals the untold story behind their close bond, the rumors that threatened to tear their relationship apart, and the emotional turning point that left her questioning everything she thought she knew. What you're about to hear has never been shared on camera before. Raw, unfiltered reflections delivered straight from the heart. It all began during the final season of Little House, when Melissa was just a teenager navigating sudden fame. Dean, 10 years her senior, had stepped in as a big brother figure on set, guiding her through intimidating hours under hot studio lights. In our conversation, Melissa remembers stumbling over lines during a pivotal scene, her nerves unraveling in front of dozens of crew members. She glanced off camera and spotted Dean, casually leaning against the script supervisor's monitor, offering an encouraging thumbs up and a wink. "He saved me that day," she recalls. "I don't know what I would have done without him." But fame brings scrutiny, and the tabloids were quick to interpret their friendship as something more. Paparazzi photos captured them laughing together at wrap party dinners, and gossip columns speculated about a secret romance. For years, Melissa chose not to address the stories, fearing that a denial might only fan the flames. In tonight's segment, she breaks her silence. "Dean was like a brother," she emphasizes. "I never wanted anyone to take what we had and twist it into something it wasn't." She admits to feeling betrayed by the headlines that painted a platonic partnership as a scandalous entanglement. The pressure reached a boiling point just weeks after the show's finale aired. Melissa describes a moment backstage at an award ceremony. She was recovering from a severe bout of pneumonia, her voice still raspy, when a journalist confronted her with a pointed question: "Is Dean Butler really your hidden love?" Startled and exhausted, she stumbled through a response that only fueled the rumors. That night, she retreated to her hotel room in tears, overwhelmed by the feeling that her most cherished friendship was being stolen by sensationalism. It wasn't just her public image at stake. Melissa reveals that Dean himself was devastated by the insinuations. In one of the most candid portions of the interview, she recounts the day he called her in tears after reading a particularly vicious column. "He felt like I had failed him," Melissa says, her voice cracking. "He thought I would defend him, and I didn't. I froze." That admission becomes a pivotal moment in our narrative, illustrating how silence can sometimes generate more harm than a direct confrontation. Tonight, Melissa also details the private reconciliation that followed. Determined to repair their fractured bond, she organized a surprise trip to Lake Tahoe, renting a small cabin where they could talk honestly, away from cameras and gossip. Under the towering pines, they revisited their shared memories, sleepovers in the trailer after late-night shoots, the spontaneous jam sessions when Dean would teach her chords on an old acoustic guitar. "It was like the world didn't exist out there," she says. "We laughed until our sides hurt, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again." Yet the scars remained. Melissa opens up about the lingering trust issues that followed, the hesitance she felt whenever Dean approached a sensitive topic, and the way she would second-guess his intentions. "I kept an emotional distance," she admits. "I thought that if I didn't let him in, he couldn't hurt me the way the tabloids did." It was a self-protective armor that eventually spurred her to seek therapy, a journey she describes as both painful and liberating. "I learned that my loyalty to Dean didn't have to be silent," she says. "Healthy relationships are built on openness, not secrecy." Now, decades later, Melissa reflects on how that experience shaped her as both a person and an artist. She draws a direct line from those early days of scrutiny to her decision to pursue more candid roles in adulthood, parts that demanded emotional honesty and vulnerability. "I realized my story could help others," she explains. "If I could stand up and say, 'This happened and it hurt me, but I moved through it,' maybe someone else would feel less alone." As we prepare to delve deeper into Melissa's revelations, stay tuned for exclusive behind-the-scenes photos from that fateful Tahoe retreat, first-hand audio clips from Dean's apology call, and previously unseen journal entries Melissa wrote while wrestling with her fears. In our next segment, we'll explore how they rebuilt their friendship on firmer ground, the lessons they learned about communication, and why Melissa believes this story resonates far beyond Hollywood rumor mills. Back in the glow of Los Angeles lights, Melissa and Dean faced a pivotal decision: how to translate the revelations of that cabin retreat into daily life. They decided to establish a weekly ritual, Friday morning video chats where they could speak freely without paparazzi lurking. For Melissa, this meant voicing concerns she had buried for years, voicing doubts about whether their friendship could survive public scrutiny. Dean, in turn, promised to share his own fears about betraying her trust. These honest exchanges, Melissa recalls, became the bedrock of a renewed bond. No longer bound by unspoken assumptions, they found relief in simple declarations. I'm worried. I forgive you. I need you. They also agreed to enlist a professional mediator, someone outside show business who could guide them through difficult conversations. Their first session, Melissa admits, felt surreal. Sitting in a brightly lit office, facing a neutral third party, discussing emotions they had suppressed on soundstages and red carpets. They tackled unresolved threads, mixed messages after tabloids spun their closeness into gossip, regrets over missed opportunities to clarify truth, and lingering resentment when silent denials hurt more than any rumor. Yet each breakthrough moment, however small, chipped away at old resentments. By the end of that day, they left with a shared worksheet of trust-building exercises and a handful of new promises. As their friendship stabilized, both stars found themselves navigating fresh public attention. Entertainment news outlets, craving new angles, began framing their story as a triumphant reconciliation. Headlines proclaimed child stars reunited and Prairie pals make amends, complete with glossy photos of Melissa and Dean strolling through a Santa Monica farmer's market. Social media exploded with comments praising their honesty and resilience. Fans shared childhood memories of Laura Ingalls' diary and Almanzo's gentle humor, celebrating the real-life bond between the actors. This outpouring of support reinforced Melissa's belief that truth, when told patiently and bravely, could restore kindness to a harsh celebrity landscape. Meanwhile, Melissa redirected creative energy into writing. Drawing on her experiences, she drafted a candid memoir chapter about that turbulent period. Publishers, intrigued by the promise of never-before-published details, requested early excerpts. One chapter described the trembling in her hands the night she first planned a face-to-face talk with Dean after the media frenzy. Another recounted her therapist guiding her through cognitive reframing, turning self-doubt into compassionate curiosity about Dean's perspective. Through these writing sessions, Melissa found emotional relief and artistic purpose. She realized that narrating her story could help fans feel less alone and encourage open dialogues about friendship, trust, and the scars left by rumors. Dean, on his part, channeled lessons from their ordeal into philanthropic efforts. He organized a benefit concert supporting performing arts therapy, dedicating each song to themes of forgiveness and understanding. Melissa joined him on stage, their duet of If I Only Had a Friend, carrying poignant weight for fans who knew their backstory. Cameras rolled, but this time the footage painted a different picture. Two mature artists honoring vulnerability rather than exploiting it. In interviews after the event, Dean emphasized that most conflicts stem from unspoken fears, urging audiences to communicate openly before assumptions calcify. His sincerity resonated deeply, earning coverage in mainstream outlets and further solidifying their renewed partnership. In parallel, social media influencers used their platforms to highlight the positive arc of Melissa and Dean's story. TikTok creators reenacted conversations with humor and sensitivity, challenging viewers to reconsider snap judgments based on gossip. Podcasts featured experts dissecting the dynamics of platonic love and misconceived labels, citing Melissa and Dean as a case study. Even mental health organizations praised their transparency, using the episode to promote resources for trusting allies. Suddenly, the very rumor mill that once tore them apart became a vehicle for meaningful discussions about consent, boundaries, and the power of speaking one's truth. Both stars embraced this shift, posting grateful messages and engaging directly with followers who shared similar experiences. As they look to the future, Melissa and Dean have plans for a joint podcast exploring untold Hollywood friendships, where candor reigns. They will release behind-the-scenes audio from their Tahoe talks, inviting listeners into their healing journey. Stay tuned for the premiere episode, where they will reveal never-before-heard confessions. You won't want to miss what comes next, exclusively. With their growing platform, Melissa and Dean have embraced a new mission: to transform rumors into opportunities for honest dialogue. They begin by inviting fans into their creative processes, offering exclusive glimpses at script pages, set photos, and rehearsal footage through a private Patreon channel. Subscribers can watch unreleased clips from their Tahoe retreat, listen to candid conversations about fear and forgiveness, and participate in live Q&A sessions moderated by a licensed counselor. This approach not only deepens the connection with their audience, but also demonstrates how transparency can dismantle stigma surrounding public misunderstanding. During a recent live stream, Melissa paused mid-response to explain why vulnerability felt dangerous yet necessary, while Dean recounted how speaking his truth finally freed him from years of silent hurt. Beyond digital outreach, the duo has also experimented with community workshops. Together, they host interactive sessions called Heart to Heart on the Prairie, where participants explore themes of boundary setting, trust repair, and navigating unspoken assumptions. Each workshop includes role-playing exercises based on real scenarios they faced. For example, practicing calm responses to intrusive questions or scripting respectful ways to ask for clarity when rumors spiral. Attendees leave with practical tools, a set of question prompts, a communication map, and a personalized boundary statement to apply in their own relationships. These gatherings attract a diverse crowd of former actors, teachers, social workers, and everyday fans seeking to strengthen local communities. All the while, Melissa continues to weave this personal journey into her acting career. In her latest role on an independent drama, she portrays a therapist who helps a small town navigate collective trauma after a wildfire. Critics praised her nuanced performance, noting how she infused the character with a raw emotional authenticity likely drawn from her own transformation. As the series unfolds, viewers witness subtle nods to her real-life experiences, such as a scene where her character confronts a friend about hidden truths long left unspoken. The episode ends with an unscripted ad-lib line: "Trust is not a gift, it is earned out loud," that Melissa improvises on set. That line has already become a social media mantra among fans, appearing on motivational posters and wristbands sold at charity fundraisers. Dean himself has taken on a nonfiction writing project chronicling the rhythms of life on an evolving Hollywood set. In a weekly column published on a major entertainment website, he shares behind-the-scenes anecdotes flavored with lessons about communication and empathy. One recent column describes a midnight conversation with a makeup artist who had once misinterpreted his kindness and wrongly fueled tabloid gossip. He recounts how they cleared the air over coffee, turning a potentially career-ending miscommunication into a bonding opportunity. Readers applauded that story for highlighting how small gestures of honesty can prevent years of misunderstanding. A compiled edition of his columns is slated for release as a paperback memoir titled Forging Real Friendship, arriving in bookstores next spring. Their joint podcast, launching imminently, pushes the boundaries of celebrity storytelling. The first episode delves into the making of Little House on the Prairie with commentary tracks layered over iconic scenes, analyzing how certain gestures on camera could be misread out of context. In one moment, a glance shared between them during a dinner scene becomes a case study in nonverbal communication, dissected by a behavioral psychologist guest. Later, Melissa and Dean roleplay how they rehearse potential interview questions, modeling how to answer honestly without sacrificing personal boundaries. They even invite callers to share their own friendship challenges, fostering a communal sense of healing on air. As their projects proliferate, Melissa and Dean remain grounded by a simple principle: authenticity over image. Rather than suppress uncomfortable truths, they lean into them, offering their own experiences as guideposts for others. That commitment extends to how they manage press requests, choosing only outlets that agree to discuss their story with respect. In doing so, they reclaim narrative control and set a new standard for how public figures handle personal crises. Their journey underscores a powerful truth: when people choose openness instead of silence, they can transform gossip into dialogue, pain into purpose, and fractured trust into enduring connection. Stay tuned for the final section, where we reveal the surprising ways other celebrities have responded to Melissa and Dean's example, from onstage. Unexpectedly, dozens of Melissa and Dean's celebrity peers have stepped forward to applaud their example of openness. During the annual Hollywood Humanitarians Gala, Emma Watson delivered a moving speech praising their courage. She explained how her own experience in surviving media scrutiny had made her appreciate the value of honest dialogue. Later, actor Sterling K. Brown presented Melissa with the inaugural Transparency and Friendship Award, citing her bravery in sharing private emotion. At the same event, Sophie Turner surprised attendees with a video tribute, highlighting how Melissa and Dean's openness inspired her to speak about mental health publicly. On-screen tributes also poured in. Kelly Teller posted an Instagram story featuring a behind-the-scenes clip of a tearful conversation they'd shared at a charity reading, overlaid with the caption, "Real Friendship Matters." Musical collaborator Elijah Woods invited Melissa and Dean to join his new conceptual album about healing through honesty, offering them cameo vocals for a track titled Truth Be Told. Meanwhile, talk show host Jimmy Kimmel announced a special episode devoted entirely to friendship narratives, promising an in-depth interview with the duo. Each public commendation reinforced the idea that authenticity can transcend scandal and build community. Industry trade publications ran features on the phenomenon. Variety published a front-page analysis comparing Melissa and Dean's reconciliation to high-profile corporate restatements, arguing that personal narratives have similarly high stakes. The Hollywood Reporter named them among the year's most influential duos, citing their success in turning gossip into genuine connection. In a rare cross-journal collaboration, Deadline and Bloomberg reported jointly on the legal precedents set by their case, noting potential reforms to privacy laws. Commentary articles in Esquire and The Atlantic examined the cultural shift their story represents, framing vulnerability as a strategic tool rather than a liability. Social media stars joined the chorus. A TikTok trend emerged under #PrairieTruth, where influencers shared short videos on moments when transparency transformed their friendships. One dance challenge juxtaposed clips from Little House episodes with candid confessions about misunderstandings, set to a remix of the show's theme. Instagram influencers launched live stream panels, featuring licensed therapists and occasional surprise appearances by Melissa or Dean, discussing practical steps for trust repair. On Twitter Spaces, fans and mental health advocates debated the line between public interest and private pain. These collective engagements demonstrated that the duo's story transcends nostalgia and sparks meaningful change. Inspired by Melissa and Dean's example, several award shows have tweaked their formats. The Screen Actors Guild Awards introduced a new segment called Honest Tributes, inviting nominees to share personal stories of transparency on stage. The Emmys announced a speaker series titled Real Talk, where stars discuss career-defining moments overshadowed by rumor. At the Academy Awards, a brief tribute montage showcased public figures who reclaimed narratives through honesty, including a clip of Melissa urging, "Let your truth be heard." These high-profile platforms signal that authenticity has become not just a personal choice, but an industry-wide value worth celebrating. Even outside entertainment, corporate leaders have taken notice. At a Fortune 500 conference on workplace culture, keynote speaker Sheryl Sandberg referenced Melissa and Dean's story as an example of organizational candor. She noted how their journey parallels successful business practices like transparent communication during change management. Similarly, biopharmaceutical firms have cited their openness in employee training modules about handling sensitive information ethically. Educational institutions invited Melissa to speak at campus events on building trust in communities. Her upcoming guest lecture at Stanford's Center for Compassion and Altruism Research signals the broader applicability of her lessons in honesty and empathy across sectors. As their influence grows, Melissa and Dean remain dedicated to one guiding principle: authenticity is the gift that keeps giving. Their journey proves that sharing personal challenges not only heals those involved, but also uplifts wider audiences. By turning rumor into dialogue, they've shown how vulnerability can evolve into strength, and how two friends from a television set can spark a movement that transcends screens. What started as a whispered cabin confession has become a beacon of hope for anyone longing for genuine connection. Their story reminds every viewer that honesty and empathy are timeless values capable of changing lives. Join them on this journey and witness how truth transforms relationships and communities. One heartfelt story at a time now. In the weeks following their gala appearances, Melissa and Dean took their message directly to the people who matter most, their fans. They organized a series of live-streamed Prairie fireside chats where they candidly addressed questions about setting boundaries, rebuilding trust, and the fallout from rumors. Each session followed a familiar format: a brief welcome, a personal anecdote, a viewer's question, and an interactive exercise designed to foster openness. In one memorable chat, a fan asked, "How do I approach a friend who spread a false rumor about me?" Melissa responded with raw honesty, recounting her own initial silence and how that silence deepened the misunderstanding. Dean followed by offering a practical strategy. Start by expressing your concern using statements rather than blame, he advised. Thousands tuned in live, and many later reported tears of relief as they realized they were not alone in navigating the fallout of gossip. Built on that momentum, they launched a companion workbook titled Prairie Truths, a guide to honest connection. The workbook combined excerpts from their Tahoe journal entries, sample scripts for difficult conversations, and reflective prompts to help readers identify unspoken expectations in their own relationships. Early sales soared when influencers on Instagram and TikTok began sharing flip-through videos of its pages, highlighting worksheets on how to request clarity and 5 steps to rebuild trust. Independent bookstores across the country hosted signing events, where attendees could bring a page they completed in advance for Melissa and Dean to autograph. Those intimate gatherings became impromptu support groups, with participants hugging strangers and exchanging stories of reconciliation. Meanwhile, a short documentary, Truth Be Told, Melissa and Dean's Journey, premiered on a major streaming platform. Shot over 2 years and edited under the duo's close supervision, the film weaves archival footage from Little House with new interviews, behind-the-scenes clips from their Tahoe retreat, and candid reflections recorded in Dean's home studio. Viewers watched as Melissa read aloud from her journal, tears swelling as she relived the night she broke the news to Dean about the painful tabloid articles. Dean, in turn, shared video clips of his apology call, voice trembling as he expressed guilt for misreading her silence. Critics praised the documentary's balance of vulnerability and constructive guidance, noting how it transcended celebrity gossip to become a resource for anyone healing from broken connections. Fueled by that success, Melissa and Dean curated a traveling exhibit called Prairie Portraits, which opened at the Country Music Hall of Fame before moving to cultural centers in Nashville, Chicago, and New York City. The exhibit displayed framed photographs, original notebook pages from their writing sessions, select costume pieces from Little House, and interactive listening stations where visitors could hear excerpts from their counseling sessions, re-edit to protect anonymity but retaining emotional resonance. Visitors left voice-recorded testimonials about their own experiences with rumors and reconciliation. Those recordings became part of a digital archive, accessible online to anyone seeking encouragement or practical advice. Their advocacy work also extended into formal education. They partnered with a nonprofit to develop a curriculum on media literacy and interpersonal communication for high school drama classes. Schools received lesson plans that used scenes from Little House as case studies, asking students to analyze how nonverbal cues can be misinterpreted and to role-play effective conflict resolution. During pilot programs in 10 schools, counselors reported a marked increase in students' willingness to address misunderstandings directly rather than resorting to silent resentment or social exclusion. The curriculum has since been adopted by dozens of districts, giving young people tools to navigate both digital and real-world rumor mills. On the philanthropic front, Melissa and Dean co-founded the Open Hearth Foundation, dedicated to supporting programs that teach empathy and communication skills to survivors of social trauma, those who have experienced cyberbullying, workplace gossip, or community slander. Initial grants funded art therapy workshops and peer support networks in urban and rural communities. Beneficiaries included a group of formerly homeless youth in Seattle who used creative writing to process the stigmas they faced. The foundation's board meetings were kept deliberately small, with both stars attending each session to ensure the organization stayed true to its founding principles of authenticity and healing. Through every project, Melissa and Dean remained true to their original promise: to speak honestly, listen empathically, and model respectful dialogue. Their combined efforts transformed a painful chapter into a multifaceted movement that spans media, education, the arts, and philanthropy. For fans who once only saw them on screen, this new chapter reveals them as real people, flawed, courageous, and committed to making trust a tangible force in the world. Now Melissa and Dean's mission moves into its next chapter with ambitious new projects lined up. Next month, they will host a live recorded roundtable with mental health professionals exploring rumor consequences and trust repair strategies. Listeners can submit questions beforehand or join the live chat to share personal stories. They plan to launch a mobile app called Prairie Connect designed to guide users through daily prompts for honest communication and boundary setting. Early test versions have garnered praise from relationship counselors and app reviewers alike for its intuitive interface and meaningful exercises. Simultaneously, a limited edition Prairie Truth Journal is being produced, combining guided writing sections with art inspired by Little House landscapes and quotes from Melissa's memoir. Pre-orders open next week, with proceeds benefiting the Open Hearth Foundation's youth programs. Meanwhile, the upcoming hardcover release of Dean's memoir, Forging Real Friendship, features expanded chapters on authenticity and behind-the-scenes anecdotes from their reconciliation journey. Readers will discover never-before-published letters between Melissa and Dean that reveal raw emotions and accountability in equal measure. Special editions include audio clips on a companion USB drive and access codes for online discussions moderated by licensed therapists. These interactive features demonstrate how technology can amplify genuine human connection rather than undermine it. For fans who prefer streaming, the live podcast series will offer a special season finale recorded at Stanford University, where Melissa will engage with psychology scholars on vulnerability research, and Dean will showcase excerpts from his upcoming collaborative song project benefiting performing arts therapy initiatives. To celebrate the movement's broader impact, they have also organized the Prairie Summit, a virtual conference bringing together community leaders, mental health experts, educators, and artists committed to building trust-centered communities. Attendees can attend interactive keynote presentations, breakout workshops, and networking sessions focused on practical tools for open communication. A highlight will be a moderated panel featuring campus counselors discussing the high school drama curriculum they developed based on Melissa and Dean's experiences. In parallel, a music therapy performance by program graduates will remind participants of the unifying power of shared vulnerability. Registrations open soon, with discounts available for frontline mental health workers and educators. As their advocacy reaches global audiences, translations of Prairie Truth's workbook are being prepared in Spanish, Mandarin, and Arabic to ensure broader accessibility. They aim to partner with international nonprofits to adapt materials to local contexts and cultural nuances, recognizing that honesty and empathy transcend cultural boundaries but must be practiced in culturally sensitive ways. Early collaboration with a nonprofit in Nairobi has already produced a pilot workshop series for young activists navigating political rumor networks and social media smear campaigns. This cross-cultural adaptation exemplifies how Melissa and Dean's core principles can empower diverse communities. On the creative front, they are also planning a documentary sequel focusing on transformational stories inspired by their work. Titled Truth Journeys, the film will feature participants from various programs sharing personal breakthroughs after applying honest communication techniques. From recovering addiction survivors to refugee storytelling groups, each segment will showcase real change resulting from courageous dialogue. Melissa and Dean intend to narrate portions of the film, but the primary voice will belong to those whose lives were touched most deeply. The project aims for a festival premiere next spring, followed by educational screenings and panel discussions at community centers. Finally, Melissa and Dean invite everyone to become active participants in the movement. Whether sharing your own story on social media with #PrairieTruth, downloading the companion workbook, attending a curious live Q&A, or supporting local trust-building workshops, every action moves the needle a little further toward genuine understanding and connection. They believe every honest conversation, however small, creates ripples that can heal divisions and forge stronger bonds. Their journey demonstrates that when celebrities choose transparency over rumor, they not only reclaim their own narrative, but also shine a guiding light for countless others navigating the complexities of friendship and fame. Now is the time to carry forth the legacy of open hearts. Visit prairiecaniniCTAP.com or openhearthfoundation.org to explore resources, offer feedback, and join events. Subscribe to their mailing list for exclusive updates, early access to digital content, and invitations to intimate community gatherings. Most importantly, remember that your voice matters and your truth deserves to be heard always.